Hello, CUNA community. Thank you for joining us tonight for our virtual town hall regarding the upcoming supplemental levy the election will take place on May 21st. My name is Wendy Johnson. I'm the superintendent of this fabulous school district. And next to me is our wonderful chairman. You want to introduce yourself, Kim?
Sure. My name is Kim Nixon, and I have been a CUNA school board member for 7 years. A community member, moved our family here in 1998. I've had 2 boys graduate from CUNA High School, yay. And I taught in this district for 34 years.
Yay. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. And next, the other side of me here is Brian.
Brian Graves. I work at the district office. I've worked at our district for 21 years and had 2 of my sons have graduated from CUNA, and I have an 8th grader.
Great. Thank you guys both for being here. I think you're going to kick us off tonight, Chairman Nixon.
I think that's what I'll do. I'll try to kick us off. I just want to thank everyone who is attending this virtual meeting. I appreciate you giving your time to listening and to possibly asking some questions. I kind of want to start off by letting you know, as a board, kind of some background and what has brought us to this levy, which will be May 21st. For most of us, probably remembering back to the pandemic, we were given some Easter money, I think that's how you say it, to help us during that time. And we took that money and we used it for things that our district needed. We used it for teachers, we used it to get some new curriculum, we used it to continue with technology, we used it to fix things that really needed to be fixed. It was a good thing. Well, the Easter money is now gone. We also, during the pandemic, were able to have what we call full attendance. In other words, the state of Idaho gives you so much money per pupil on the formula that they have, and we were able to, we have a little less than 6,000 students, I believe.
Yep.
So we were able to get all the money for every student, which also helped our budget at the time. Now, as of lately, we're back to what they call ADA, which is average daily attendance. So that means we no longer, from the state of Idaho, get 100% funding for our students. What we get is an average. So however many days we have kids here, that's the number they pull. We have a really great treasurer, and she was able to figure that that would probably be about a 7% cut. So going from 100 to 93%. So as a school board, we knew this was coming up, and so we looked at ways that we could at least save money. And so we went out to contract for a custodial. We saved $300,000 there. We looked at some of our contracts and went out for more bids, took the lowest one there. We've been doing what's called mitigation, and we've been able to raise about $7 million, a little over $7 million there to help with all this. Plus, we've been able to pay down some of our bonds and to also give them in early, I guess is the word I want to say. So those are some of the things that we've done. So now, having no more Easter money and no more daily attendance, but we have to go to average, we have a big area that needs to be funded. And just to maintain, what we're asking for is $5.3 million per year for 2 years. This is a supplemental levy. It's different than a bond. And so a supplemental levy is for 2 years, that's all. And it would be 10.6. What we want to do is not hire 15 new teachers, but just be able to maintain 15 teachers, be able to maintain our SRO. We have some aides and behavior specialists and some safety projects. Also, we took a look at some things maintenance-wise that just need to be taken care of right away. We just don't have time. And that is, we have a couple of roofs. We have the Hubbard roof. Hubbard was built in, I believe, the 70s, and it just needs to be repaired. We've got leaky roofs and tiles that need to be replaced. And then the reed roof also. And I know I was a little shocked about the reed roof because I was like, didn't we just get that? But it's been almost 20
Yeah.
years. So it's just really normal wear and tear on that roof. Also, our air conditioning at Indy Creek and Ross and the high school need to be updated. I know my son teaches at the high school, and he's told me, this is what I've heard, is that they can only have air conditioning in part of the building. So one day they do part,
Yep.
the other part doesn't get it, then they do the next. You know, and that's really not a good learning environment for those kids, so that's a real necessity. We also have some technology that needs to be updated, and in case you haven't looked around, our community is growing, and we do need 3 new buses. So I do want to let you guys know also that we've tried to be due diligent in our work as a board. And last year, we used the rest of our ESSER money, what we had, so that we didn't have to come before the community with a supplemental levy. But right now, there's no place to go, I guess is the best way to say it. I know as a community member, it's hard on me too. It's not something I like to do, is raise taxes, but that's the only way that the state of Idaho allows us to fund is with your permission. I've been in this community a really long time, and I know if there's one thing that I think all of us have in common, and that is the love of this community, the love of CUNA, and the kids who attend our schools. And I know this is the best deal and that we can give to our community and to our kids. So I just kind of want to leave with that and pass it on to, I guess, Wendy, you're next.
Yeah, I think Brian Graves is going to give us a little bit of information about kind of the history of supplemental levies in our district and some of the details that Kim gave a great overview of. So we've tailored the presentation also based on some of the questions that we received ahead of time. So
Oh, good.
hopefully we'll answer all of the questions tonight in our presentation. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this is just a brief history of CUNA's levy history. It shows you in 2017, 2019, this was actually, we maintained that bond, or that levy that year. And the levy focus was more so on curriculum, technology. There was maintenance in this one, so this isn't a new thing to have maintenance. It actually was a maintenance match with the lottery money. That was something that we had to do to get the lottery money. And then the safety piece is exactly, we're maintaining that as well. In 1921, those 2 years is when we kind of really started to see the additional teachers added to the levy. Again, that focus on safety, and again, you see the curriculum and technology. 21 through 23 looks exactly the same because we again maintained it. And then, as Chairman Nixon said, that we took a year off from levy because our board did such a good job of asking us to look ahead to the future and push this money out. So we were able to do that, and we were able to do the same ask, but use that federal money that we got through the COVID money. But now we're here again asking for that 2.5. If you go to the next slide, that 2.5 million for staffing and operations, exactly how we've asked for it before. But this is that kind of the first time we've gone back and asked for some maintenance. And we really define it as critical maintenance. Chairman Nixon did a really good job of explaining a lot of our projects. The only one I would add is we have 4 schools right now that need a fire panel update.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It's not that our fire panel isn't telling us to leave the building, it's just not doing a good job of communicating with police, fire.
Yeah.
Which isn't a big deal if we're at school, because we can make that phone call, but if something were to happen overnight.
So it's really safety for our kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, three of our buildings are quite, they're not old, because that means I'm old, but they're our older buildings, and they just need that update. And then the high school, surprisingly, I came the year after the high school was built, and it doesn't feel like it was a long time ago, but that was 22 years ago. And again, that fire panel just needs to be updated. This slide does a good job of kind of splitting that out for you, showing that I think facility maintenance, we'll get to that in a little bit, but this will be a one-time. I don't see us asking for this in future levies.
Yeah.
Because we'll explain it, but that facilities money that the state passed.
So what is kind of a renewal for us is from kind of almost 20 years of running a supplemental levy is that we're paying for additional teachers, the
Yep.
ones we already have hired, that we've had in place for a good chunk of time, that we would continue to update and keep our curriculum and, which is our learning materials for students and our technology up to date, and that we would maintain our focus on safety. In particular, making sure that we have school resource officers available to our schools and our children and our families, in addition to behavior specialists, safety aides, those sorts of people that play a really important role in our school community. You want to talk a little bit about the facilities specifically? We talked a little, both Chairman Nixon and you mentioned the heating and air conditioning. You mentioned some of the fire alarm. You want to talk a little bit, Brian, about maybe the roofs?
Yeah, and this is one of my jobs is I get to oversee operations, and I think that the roofs are maybe a frustration. You heard Chairman Nixon say, well, Reed Elementary is not that
Yeah.
old. That was the last year I ever taught was at Reed Elementary.
Yeah.
But their very first year. Typically, you hope to get 10, 15 years out of a roof. And remember, when we do a building, that the roof is one of the first things we get done. So the roof is going to be a little bit older even than the building seems like it is.
Yeah.
We're able to patch. The problem when you continually patch is you start to wear away that structure. Right now, when we recover from a winter or we have big rainstorms, we quickly find out where we need to patch again.
Yeah.
And we can continue doing that, but at some point, we're not going to be able to patch and
Yeah.
keep up with it. The scary thing is Crimson Point is only a year or two older.
Yeah.
So Crimson Point, we've been lucky right now, but Crimson Point is going to be in the same deal soon. And then Ross and Indian Creek are going to be two schools we want to talk about soon as well. Just again, two of our older buildings, but they're not as critical as Reed, and definitely not as critical as the Hubbard Annex.
Yeah.
The Hubbard Annex is a building that we're really struggling to stay on top of with patching. If we're not able to replace that roof, then we probably need to look at some plans to maybe look at putting those students somewhere else because we can't keep up with or days like today, we're golden.
Yeah.
A nice sunny day, we're not going to need that patch, but we're just not able to stay up. The fire alarms, it's just technology that needs to be replaced. We cannot just fix it because it's that old. And the idea that it's not consistently and almost, to me, it's got to be a guarantee that it's communicating with the police and fire if there's an emergency.
Absolutely.
And we can't guarantee that right now. We can't keep up with those 4 panels. The heating and air conditioning unit replacements, if you saw me on the news a couple times, I did one of them from in the boiler room at Ross. It's a neat room, and there's some.
It's an old piece of equipment, isn't it?
There's some landmarks in there.
Yeah.
There's a sign that says 1964. But again, and most of that's tunneled. That's one of the nice things about having to clear snow at Ross. Sometimes you don't have to because of the heat. It goes through the tunnels to the 2 separate buildings. And remember, these are buildings that we've talked about as we've done bonds. Do we go a different direction than the 2 older buildings? So it's not that we've forgotten about these buildings or don't care about them, but there was actually other plans in the bond, kind of like 10-year plan. But now that bond, the community chose not to get to that 66% threshold. We have to make those buildings ready for 5-10 years of use. And then the 3 buses, you're 100% right. Our communities have grown, but we're 12 buses, 16 buses that are over 200,000 miles, and 12 of those are over 250,000 miles. So we're doing an amazing job keeping buses moving.
Yes.
But just like the board gave us the permission to go to auction on a used bus, that we really need. There's need to replace some buses. Or we're gonna have to look at can we provide the activities busing that we do right now, because if you have one bus go down, the routes
We're
are
already
first.
behind. Yeah. Brian, would you talk a little bit, you mentioned the state facility money.
That's the next one.
Yeah, and you said, we added we added to this supplemental levy about roofs and buses and heating and air conditioning. And you said you hope we don't ever have to do that again. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think our excitement is the state facility money and the state hopefully beginning the process of not only guaranteeing that we have this free and appropriate education for all of our students, but also a safe place to do that and keep up with our buildings. We at CUNA, we're estimated to get $20 million in the next 10 years. If we choose to take that money incrementally over the 10 years, then that will help CUNA in the sense that it'll pay down our bonds and levies. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to help us with our facilities. If we take the money all in a lump sum, then we can use it for our facilities. And I personally hope that's the way we choose to go, mm-hmm. because saying that we have 2 emergency roofs in the annex and Reed, I already told you that Crimson Point's right next.
Yeah.
Indian Creek and Ross are going to need some roof work. There's already projects that we have. Our parking lots, if you've walked in our parking lots, need to be resurfaced probably within the year, or we're going to lose them to gravel. If you've ever been to the old the middle school parking lot that's around
on the east side.
Yeah, it's already turned to gravel. You'd have to start over on that one.
Yeah.
Our playgrounds, if you've walked our playgrounds, the asphalt, we haven't resurfaced those for a while because it just you kind of, when you're pinching pennies, you've got to put the money.
Yeah.
Maybe milk before ice cream.
Yeah. We have about 100 million backlog, right?
Yes.
Of projects.
There's projects we can do. Now, some of those projects, if we choose to build a K-5 at Ross, then there's some things we won't have to do. And but absolutely. Yeah, it'll be very easy to do the 10-year requirement plan for us and show where that money will be spent.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we'll get more, because 20 million is not going to be enough.
Well, one of the things I've heard from the community is, well, you're going to be getting this 20 million, but I think it's important that the community realizes that we don't know when.
Yeah.
And we're not sure. It will be, I guess, up to the board to decide if they want to do the lump sum or in the 10-year process, and that will make differences in how that money is used.
The state doesn't have all of this money yet, right? They're taking out a Garvey bond.
Our Garvey bond, in my
get it
understanding,
done.
they're going to be using lottery money
Yep,
also.
yep.
So that was money we had prior, so all of that's going to be coming together. But I think it's just important that as community members and those that are listening, that they understand that the things that are on the maintenance for the 5.8 is, I think, million. 5.8 million, that stuff is stuff we need right now. It's stuff that we really can't wait on. The 20 million, that'll be nice because we can take a look at some things, but the stuff that we're asking in this levy is really stuff that needs to be done yesterday type of thing.
It's critical.
And I just want community members to realize that, because I have heard, well, you've got 20 million coming. Yeah, but we don't know when, and we don't know how, and what that will look like. So I just want to make sure that they understand that.
And the board defined critical as things that potentially could shut down a school or a section of a school within the next 1 to 2 years. So.
Yeah, and there's been some restrictions that we've seen already, and technology is a restriction that we're not positive that we can use that money on. So even the fire alarms make us nervous, because the fire alarms nowadays are an old school bell. It's a lot of technology that we couldn't do the buses. They've put no athletic facilities, so we have questions. Like we have the lights on the football stadium that are going out. We use that for assemblies. We could have graduation out there if we had
community
so
uses it.
That moment of, is a playground considered a athletic facility because they have basketball hoops? Is it gym, a classroom? So there's questions that we have, and there's things that we need to do in all those spaces.
Well, in other words, you're saying that money comes with strings attached as usual.
Yes.
So so we'll have to take a look at that. So we want to make sure the community understands that too.
So the supplemental levy that's on the ballot on May 21st includes staff and things for learning, safety, and then it also includes some critical repairs. When would the levy end, Brian? What's kind of the time frame?
It's a 2-year levy, so that 5.3 comes in year 1, and then 5.3 again, so that's a total of 10.6 million. So this time in 2 years, if you could fast forward, I'll be
Yeah.
on a beach in Hawaii because I'll win the lottery. But no one knows where we're going to be in 2 years. But this
Yeah.
levy, I mean, we've kind of been that pattern since 2009, which sounds about right. That's when I got into admin. I remember doing the phone banks. But just kind of the neat thing I've heard about, like why isn't the state just giving us everything and taking care of us? This way we know CUNA money goes to CUNA, and CUNA money corrects CUNA problems and makes CUNA better. So
Yeah, and the other thing I've tried to explain to community members is growth in Idaho does not pay for growth. There's no impact fees we could charge. This is the way it's set up by the legislature for us to go out to our constituents, to our community members. Yeah, and like I said, I really feel like we've done all we can do. I like to say we're a lean, mean fighting machine here at CUNA
Yes.
School District. But, yeah, so I just want them to know that also, that there are no impact fees. For those that are moving in from other states, that is a question that I get a lot from.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the annual cost. Brian, you want to kind of go into that?
Yeah.
As both of you being taxpayers in the CUNA School District.
absolutely. So it is going to be on your you'll see it on your home. I'm trying to think of your not your homeowner's bill, but your
Your
property
tax,
tax,
property
property
tax, yeah.
yes. And so, and it's based on your taxable assessed value of your home. And please, we don't determine your value of your home.
Right.
And it's kind of a double-edged sword because you want your value of your home to go up. But that means there's more
Yeah.
ability to tax it. But it's for every $100,000 that your home is assessed, then this levy will raise that $103.90 just to pay for this levy. However, there's some good news coming as well. Because of the growth of community, because there's more people paying taxes, because the state has given us some tax credits. It's not going to, from last year, it's not going to be more $103.
Yeah. Do you want to explain the slide that
This one,
our
I jumped to the next.
patrons are seeing? Yeah.
So for this, when you see your property taxes, you're going to see way more line items than three. The three that we're showing you are the three that the school district is causes.
Collecting. Yeah.
So
Causes is probably a good word.
the tort levy is, you're gonna, no matter where you go in the state of Idaho, you're gonna see this because
Yeah.
all of us have to have liability insurance, and this helps us offset our liability insurance. The bond levy was passed in 2017. I don't think there's anything other than 2017,
Yeah, I think
right?
we've
It's
paid
just-
off, the board has worked really hard over the last 5 years to pay off debt and make
Yeah.
extra payments and get that payment down.
So that was some additions at our elementaries. At Fremont had an addition,
Yeah.
and Swan Falls was started, and CUNA High had its last edition,
Yeah,
we hope.
yeah.
We'll see. But that amount is at $161.74, and then you'll see the $0 for the supplemental levy, because for this current year, we don't have anything there. House Bill 292 gave every property owner a tax relief, and for CUNA, it was $42. So the total that CUNA School District caused was $123.61 per $100,000 value. So if you have $1 million home, after your homeowner's exemptions, then you pay 10 times that, because
Yeah.
You have a nice house.
I have to keep it really simple with math. I
Yeah.
don't want to do any tricky math. So the projections, and again, we use the word projection because we just don't know. There's new homes being built every day, and
Yeah.
values change. Tort levy isn't going to change. That bond levy from 2017 will change, though, and it'll be a decrease of $70.36.
Yeah.
We know that because we have our friends come in and tell
Yeah.
us how many homes have been built and what will that affect cause.
Yeah.
So one of the positives of growth is more people are now in charge of paying this down for us. So that drop will be $70.36. So that new supplemental levy of adding that $103.90 is going to be offset for a grant. And then we estimate that instead of trying to guess, we just said, okay, $42 again. It could be better than that as far as the tax relief, but we're saying that your new charge will be $157.20, or an increase of $33.50.
Yeah.
And that's a year. I know I get my tax bill, they show me like half and half.
Twice a
but-
year.
Yeah,
But that's
pay it
just
half and
half of
half.
it, so you just pay it once,
Yeah. Yeah.
a year.
Yeah. So I just did I'm a fourth grade teacher, or was. So I did a little figuring here. If you take the $33.50 and divide it by 12, that's about $2.79 a month. But I increased it to $3. And then if you have about a $500,000 house, 3 times 5 is 15, so about $15 extra a month. So I told my husband that we're not getting our Dutch bros for one time a week and to do that. And I kind of just, I know that kind of sounds kind of funny, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to find ways, because I too am on a fixed income now, I'm retired, ways that I can help this community, help the kids, and be able to pay my taxes. You know, I don't really like this system, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I've had people come to me and say, well, you're just going to ask again. And I'm like, I hope not, but probably,
Yeah.
because that's the way we do it. And I hope that the community sees that we've been due diligent and we've done all that we can do, and that we're not putting icing on anything,
Yeah.
but that we're doing just what we need for the kids to have a good education.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your service,
Oh.
Tim, for of this long, many years, and now as a board member.
I
you know,
love
teacher,
kids.
and now a teacher of the community, so
Well, I've
thank
always
you.
loved kids, so.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And I love this community.
Yeah, it's a great place.
It is.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about voting. And since we're less than a week away, there aren't a ton of opportunities for early voting, but I thought I'd give an opportunity to just talk about how important it is that every person votes. In 2017, we ran a bond, and it passed by 11 votes. And so every vote matters. In 2023, in March, when we ran a bond, and it didn't reach the supermajority, we had a lot, we went on a fact-finding mission and asked questions about, like, how do we go wrong in this? And some people we heard from, quite a few people said, I didn't vote. I thought it would pass. I wasn't worried about it. I was busy on that day. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about some opportunities to vote early. There's not many more. And then also on election day. So in Ada County, if you live in Ada County, which the majority of our school district is in Ada County, but we do have some Canyon County friends as well. There are 2 more opportunities. One more opportunity, yes, it is the 16th. Today is over. Tomorrow, you can vote at Lake Hazel Library if you want to vote early, if you're in Ada County. And then in Canyon County, you can vote tomorrow as well from 8 to 5 at the Caldwell Elks Lodge or the Nampa Cultural Center. So either of those opportunities if you're a Canyon County voter. And then, of course, where we are pretty much is the election day, which takes place on Tuesday, May 21st. It's a busy day. There's lots of things going on next week, including 2 graduations and lots of spring activities. One of the things I do know, being a regular voter myself, is that our polling places do change. So it's a good idea to check where your polling place is. You can QR code this, you can link on this, you can go look and see where your polling place is. Just type in your address, and the website here will tell you, Vote Idaho will tell you. So we're going to end with we're almost to the end of our presentation here, but one of the questions we always get is, what will we do if this doesn't pass? And while we don't like to make threats, you heard a little bit about some of the things some tough decisions that the board is going to have to make without this additional revenue. Brian mentioned, we can only patch the roof so many more times before a roof isn't safe anymore. And so potentially having to move children out of a facility to another facility. And as you know, we don't have a lot of extra space. So potentially moving kids, potentially having to change some schedules, all of that sort of thing. We would also be looking at staff reductions. On the slide, you can see the majority of our budget is people, and that makes sense. We're in the people business. We serve children, and we need people in order to do that. And so with about 89%, a little under 89% of our people, of our budget being people, that's probably where we're gonna have to go look. We have done a good job over the last 10 years of trying to have efficient bus routes, but also taking, managing efficiency against the length of routes. As Brian said, we have a fleet that's getting old, and we're going to need to ensure that we keep it running. If we are unable to purchase more buses, we're probably going to look at consolidating routes, which means longer bus routes for our kids, which we do not want to have to do because we've worked hard to make them more efficient. Anyway, it's going to be some really hard conversations with the school board on what we would do. We hope to not focus on any of these things because we've done a lot of review of our budget. We do that every year, like where can we get more efficient? Where are some opportunities to maybe save money? But the reality is we are like everybody else with the cost of goods and services increasing and our budget really not meeting that increase. The money we get from the state really doesn't always meet all of our needs. This is one way that we can generate some additional revenue. Anyway, so that is kind of our ideas. We don't have a lot of other things. We're hoping to focus on getting the levy information out so people can make the decision that they need to. And we hope you make a plan to vote either tomorrow, which is your last day to do early voting, or on Tuesday, May 21st, at your polling location. Would you guys have any last words of wisdom for our community members?
I appreciate that people are listening because they're educating themselves.
absolutely.
And I think that's a great idea as a community member and just as a member of the board too. The other thing is, my concern has been we've never really ran a levy in May.
Yeah,
And so my concern is that there are some people out there who feel like they're only going to go vote for one thing because
Yeah,
they may not be
good
able
point.
to vote in the primary. And I hope that a lot of those will say, I'm going to go vote for one thing
Yeah.
that makes a difference in my community. So I'm kind of fearful of that. We've never
Yeah.
really done one in May,
Yeah.
but this is the first time because of the legislature. And so I just want to make sure everybody really goes out to vote. It is important. It's important for our community, for our kids.
yeah, thank you, Chairman Nixon, I appreciate it. I don't know if any other questions have come forward. We took questions, like I said, ahead of time and made sure we addressed all of the questions we received ahead of time. We also have a Q&A document out on our website if there's a question that maybe you thought of after watching this and it wasn't live and so you didn't have an opportunity to see it. But there are a lot of questions and answers out on our website. And you can always call. You can always call the district office, 922-1000. We'll answer your questions and we'll get you to the right person that can best answer.
And I know as a school board member, I'll speak for the school board, you can always email us. We have our email
Absolutely.
address if you have questions or concerns that you'd like to hear from us. Yeah, we want to be as transparent as possible to let you know just exactly what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time to educate yourself, to learn more about this important election on May 21st. Thank you.